Hi, good afternoon. After our technical difficulties, we are ready to begin. I am going to act as a little bit of the MC for this session, and I'll also be giving the first presentation. My name is John Lesher. I am Principal Environmental Planner for the Montgomery County Planning Commission. Thank you all for being here. What I am going to do is, very quickly, I'm going to tell you who I am and what I do, because sometimes, especially on the county level, people don't know what the planners do, what we are. We're going to talk a little bit about what is sustainability, mostly from a planning perspective. We're not going to, I would be preaching to the choir if I was trying to show you, give you all the definitions and whatnot. And then the meat of it's going to be, what can we do at the county? What are we doing? What have we done to be a leader? What have we done working with our stakeholders? And through that whole little, that's the meat of my presentation. I want to give you a little bit of like the lessons I've learned, and hopefully that hits on some of the concerns and the questions that you have that you've just expressed. And then what I'll do is as the other speakers come, while they're setting up, I'll give you the brief introductions for them. So this will not be the last you hear of me today. Who am I? I am a planner. My wife finds that ironic because I can never plan anything in our lives, but professionally that is what I do. I'm not going to read that to you, but you can see from our website that is our vision statement. That's what we do as planners. But really what we do as a planning commission is we work mostly with municipalities, but we also work with EACs, nonprofits, citizens, basically anybody. We are public servants. So you call, we'll talk to you. We'll even come out on Sunday afternoons and give a little presentation. Planning is all about land use. That's really our focus. That's where the Planning Commission makes all their money. We worry about where things should go and how that affects the municipality and the community around it. And the things that we do. Really, for the most part, we write ordinances. We are the ones that will write your renewable energy ordinance, we'll write your riparian protection ordinances. We write the law, we work with the planning commissions, and then the solicitors rip it apart, and then it goes for adoption process. We do a lot of plan writing. I personally have written or been part of 3 sustainability plans written in Montgomery County. I think that's how I got this speaking gig. It's through that. And we also write educational publications. Montgomery County has the Renewable Energy Series, which is a series of educational documents that are for decision makers to talk about solar, wind, geothermal, energy conservation, some of the issues that go along with that for municipalities. I would like to say, to make sure that you have 0 expectations of me, at the county we have, at least on the Planning Commission, we have no power. We cannot tell anybody to do anything. We really don't even have money to give out. So my job, I always consider is like half salesman, half educator, trying to get municipalities to do the right thing. So in some ways, I am where you guys are. I just have a job title, and that gives me a little bit of an entree into what municipalities are doing, but I still have to do the same thing that you guys do. So hopefully that gives me a good perspective on how to help you enact change in your community. This is and now once again, we're a little short on time, so I'm not going to go through this, but this is what we've created as our sustainability Venn diagram. This is through the work that we've done. We've kind of figured that this was really the heart of what we felt sustainability is. Addressing all of these principles makes for a sustainable community.
Nice.
This is being recorded. I can share this with you. Anything information that I present, harass me, I'll email it to you. So that you don't have to try to write it all down. What do we currently do? We are, you asked, one of the big things is how do you get change? Well, first you have to organize yourself. You have to get yourself moving in the right direction. I don't know if you've worked with municipalities at all, or any sort of government entity. We're not very organized. We don't talk to each other. I don't talk to assets and infrastructure. I don't talk to Parks and Rec that often. you need some sort of way of getting everybody in the room together to start to share ideas and to start to even just get the face, like, oh, Steve, how are you? What are you doing? There's that communication. So we are starting our energy strategy, sustainability, and resiliency program. I do not know if it will be called that in the long run. It's going through about 7 names for government, so we need an acronym of some sort. We haven't figured out what the best acronym is. But we got buy-in from the commissioners. At the end of the day, you gotta get the bosses. For us, it's the county commissioners. It might be your board of supervisors, your county council. You have to get them to buy in. Without that, nothing happens. Especially trying to organize your government, because somebody has to tell the other departments, listen, you need to talk to these people, you need to listen, you need to communicate, you have to take time to make those meetings. So we got buy-in from the commissioners. We have the relevant stakeholders coming together on a regular basis. We are meeting regularly, and I cannot stress this enough. Our focus is data. Our focus is getting numbers. Without numbers, the commissioners and whoever you are trying to influence will not either make the decisions you want them to make because they need to justify those decisions, or they will not continue after those elected officials are gone. Remember, you are permanent. Your boards are not. They will not be there in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it may be. So whatever you're doing, you want to have the data, because you're going to have to convince the next person that sits in that seat that what we're doing is right, that it makes sense, that we've saved X, we've done this, we've planted this. You have to have that data, because you need to be able to justify the continuality of it throughout administration. We've done a lot of projects. We have geothermal at the Peter Wentz farmhouse. We're in the middle of an ESCO project at our courthouse, and we've done an ESCO project at the prison. My favorite one to talk about is at the prison because it's mostly water savings. The first day that they started that ESCO project, the water company called and asked if there was a prison break. The amount of water that was saved, and a lot of what it was prisoners have very little that they can control. One of the things they could control is their toilet. And they would sit around all day and flush their toilet. Not because they needed to, but because they could. And they put it on a regular system where it would flush every 60 or 90 minutes. Now, my lesson from that, when I tell that story, when I talk to business owners and building operators, you can't treat your people who come in and visit or live there as if they were prisoners. I have small children, I've tried, it doesn't really work as well as I would hope. But you can change behaviors, and that's the key. Looking at behaviors is your first step towards making any sort of sustainable change. So if you take anything from this, is that Montgomery County says treat citizens as if they were prisoners. That's our advice. We do a lot of ordinance writing. We either have written renewable energy ordinances for municipalities, or through the county review process, we've had a chance to comment on them and hope the municipalities take the change. So this is, I think, from 2015. So this needs to be updated, but you get an idea of number of installations that have gone in through the county and which municipalities have an ordinance written for them. It is important, I know from a planning perspective, that if a municipality should have ordinances for the things that they want to change, especially when it comes to renewable energy. Because if there's no ordinance, it makes things longer, harder for developers, for applicants to come in, because there's not a clear-cut process. There may be long conversations internally of like, where could this system go? Does it need a setback? What's this? What's going on here, there, and whatnot? So it's important to have an ordinance in, because that helps make projects quicker and cheaper. We've worked with the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. They're an excellent resource if you're looking for information. They have an Office of Climate Change. They've done a ton of work. They're federally funded, so they can actually do a lot more work than we can because they have more money. One of the things they've done is they have a renewable energy framework. It helps municipalities write these ordinances for wind, for solar. It gives you options. I call it, it's like a choose your own adventure. I'm showing my age a little bit for ordinance writing. It's a great document. Some of the things as you're writing an ordinance, the things to consider is defining it correctly. You need to know what you will want in your community. I work with a wide variety. I work with everything from a Cheltenham to a Marlborough. Very different communities. So their needs are different. So know exactly what you're going to regulate and then go about writing something appropriate. One of the big things that we talk about when we talk about renewable energy is first responder safety. At this point, the building code does not cover that issue. So it's kind of one of our selling points for having a municipality write a solar ordinance is that you can handle that topic, that issue, to make sure that it's done safely, correctly, and appropriately. Now, once the building code catches up to us someday, if it ever does, that may become unnecessary. But for right now, ordinances are the best way of talking about first responder safety. And it's a way of stopping a detractor. And it's cutting off a red flag early. And then one of the big things that you have to think about when you're talking about any of these renewable energies is it's a pretty complicated relationship. You have your municipality, you have your homeowner or business owner, you have the installer, you have PICO, you have to figure out what the system is and how you interconnect with that system. And then you also have PJM, which I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but they manage the grid throughout the whole Mid-Atlantic region. They're kind of like the traffic controller for energy. And there is a relationship that your utility has with them. So all this stuff can get covered in an ordinance and can help this process move along faster. We're doing, not only are we doing writing on ordinances, we also do audits. We work with the municipality, look at their ordinances, we say, this is where you can remove some of these roadblocks, not just for solar, but for all sorts of green building, resource protection, things of that. And then we can show them where they could find opportunities to make their ordinances more sustainable green. As I said, we do sustainability planning. We've written plans for Collegeville, for Cheltenham, and for Pottstown. Pottstown was a joint municipality and school district plan. They both adopted the plan and it has goals and actions for each of them. And then we just, we do a lot of the education and outreach. We come out and we help where we can. We are currently in the planning stages for, it is literally called the Justice Center, which makes me feel like a superhero. It is a huge addition to the courthouse. It is being done to LEED standards. What's been interesting about that is you're getting all the different stakeholders in a room together to talk about these topics. And if you're going to do any sort of sustainable project, that is key. You have to get everybody in the room. For us, it was everybody from the judges to community planners who could tell them how to do a front facade so that hopefully it becomes an attractive place where people want to use and activate the outdoor space. Another big topic, and this is something that you really should be aware of moving forward, the state has enacted a CPACE program. This is a program that will help fund renewable energy conservation, and water conservation projects in the state for commercial buildings. It is a loan program. It's tied to the building's property taxes. It is one of the only drivers really for these types of projects. And right now we are in the process. We are a stakeholder in trying to figure out how the legislation will work. Keep your eyes and ears open for it. When this becomes enacted and it becomes a running program, this is something that we will definitely push to communities to get their commercial buildings to take advantage of this. We're going to continue to work with our ESS audit program. I like to kind of tout this as how do you pay for it? It's tough. First, you need the data to prove that you need to do it. You plan your projects. I like to say you do the small stuff first. You take the savings from that, and then you use that to fund the bigger projects. The problem with that is you have to have a governing body that's not just going to take that savings and roll it into pensions or whatever, like sidewalks or who knows, like whatever they need. You have to have the political will to say, we're doing this as part of a strategy. We're gonna save money here, we're gonna hoard it, and use that to do a bigger project. And then we'll take that savings and maybe we'll do a bigger project. And then finally you could say, all right, we've saved enough that maybe we can take some of that and we could do something and hire somebody to do this or spend it somewhere else. But it takes that political will to have a strategy in place. We're continuing our planning work. We're always looking for municipalities and school districts to do some sustainability planning, resiliency planning. We're going to continue to do all the other work that I've talked about. Basically, at the end of the day, we're going to find needs in the community and we're going to fill them to the best of our ability. The county of Montgomery County is currently pursuing Soul Smart designation, which is a federal designation from DOE, to be a solar-friendly county. We are currently working towards that. We have 4 municipalities that have achieved Soul Smart designation. We're going to continue to work with them. And we're going to help find funding and technical assistance opportunities for our stakeholders. Because once again, at the county, I don't have money. I don't have a big purse to be able to give out to people. So there's a whole bunch of resources out there. There is the Green Ribbon School. We're not directly involved, but we will help a school district through their planning efforts to be able to reach that. There's a whole bunch of tools out there. Sustainable Pennsylvania is in its infancy. I recommend you look into that. If you're looking for great tools, if you're looking for great metrics and all sorts of stuff, Sustainable Jersey. Sometimes I hate recommending going over to Jersey for stuff, but they have, their Sustainable Jersey program is awesome. It started with over $1 million from the EPA. They have a ton of tools, use it. The one, as I talked about, DBRPC, EPA, PADEP, all have grants. If you are ever looking for how do you fund these things, the Bible for us on the government end is that database of state incentives for renewables and efficiency. Desire.org. Make sure you put the .org on the end, especially if you're at work. If you don't, it gets awkward. But that is a database for all sorts of loans, grants, programs, anything you need in your state, they have it. I just told you I don't have money because I don't want you to have great expectations, but we do have a grant program, Monco 2040. So that is a grant program for municipalities. We do have a sustainable aspect to it. Last slide. And then we'll, I don't know if I have time to take questions now. I might move people along and we'll take some questions at the end. You guys are here because hopefully you are the squeaky wheel. And that's what gets things moving. Somebody at meetings who will speak up, who will bring these topics out at council meetings, at board meetings. We love the idea of the EACs. They are a perfect conduit for this type of work because they are private citizens working in a government-sponsored organization. They have the ability to bring ideas and projects and thoughts to the government, and the government then also has the ability to say, we need help, we need volunteers, we need project ideas, we need to be able to reach out to these private citizens so they can then use the EAC to reach out to the public. It's a nice figure eight of ideas and thoughts and warm feelings. So that is, we love the role of the EACs in this process, and we feel that they're critically important. And that's it. That's it for me. As I say, not goodbye, see you later. If you need anything from me, you have my contact information, I'm more than happy to help. So, I am going to stop talking, and I am going to introduce our next speaker. Let's see. I will read Andrea and Dave Richmond's bio. Andrea Campisi is a senior planner at Lower Merion Township, where she is involved in all aspects of municipal planning and also serves as a staff liaison to the Township's Environmental Advisory Council, their EAC. She has a bachelor's degree in geography and environmental studies from Villanova and is currently attending Villanova to pursue a master's degree in public administration. She will be presenting with David Richmond, who is on the Township's Environmental Advisory Council, and is co-presenting. David is an attorney with Pepper Hamilton and leads the EAC's Energy Conservation and Sustainability initiatives. So, I think Andrea.
There we go.
That's what she's doing. I'm going to take a seat.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. As John mentioned, I'm Andrea Campisi. I'm the senior planner at Lower Merion Township, and I will be talking to you about what we've done as a municipality to reach our sustainability goals. And just to briefly touch on some of the questions that were raised earlier, just a couple of points. In Lower Merion, we have a great EAC. They're really a workhorse for our Board of Commissioners. They bring ideas to the board. Boards are busy, and as John mentioned, your board will change over time. And we've seen, the township has changed through different boards. We've gotten definitely more sustainable as we've progressed in my tenure at the township. Also, our Board of Commissioners, we have 14 commissioners in our township, which is a lot. That's a lot of voices and a lot of different opinions, and one thing that they have done to vet things from our EAC to the full board is they've created a subcommittee of the Board of Commissioners called the Environmental Initiatives Committee. So our EAC is able to brainstorm, bring ideas through this subcommittee. The subcommittee vets them and then brings them to the full board. So that has worked for us in our township. It's something that can work for you all. So just setting the stage, in 2013, our township adopted a green building resolution, and this was really pushed hard by our then EAC. And basically what this document does is it encourages the township through any new building project or expansion to look at incorporating energy efficiency and green building design into that project where economically practicable. That was a big sticking point when this was adopted. Money is always an issue, as John mentioned. Cost is always a concern. So there was a lot of discussion over having that point be in the resolution. The resolution also talks about pursuing different certification processes, such as LEED, again, where economically practical. The timing was really right when this was adopted, because we were just about to undertake renovations to all 6 of our libraries. And as you'll see as I go through my presentation, we were able to incorporate various green building designs into most of those library, or some of those library renovations. So I'm going to start from the current and work backwards to what we have done. Most recently, our board, just last month, unanimously voted to purchase electricity from 100% renewable wind resources. That will net us a savings of over $210,000. And just one thing I will point out, it's not on the slide, but we were presented with several different options from different electricity providers. Going 100% renewable was not the cheapest. There was a modest $10,000 difference, and the board was still willing to go with 100% renewable, even though it costs just a little bit more. And I'd also point out that previously we were purchasing 10% of our electricity from renewable resources. So again, it may take a big, you may have a small step to lead to a much bigger step at a later point. And you can see what the impacts on our carbon footprint are there. Also, earlier this year, we purchased a hybrid fusion that we put into rotation in our police force. We're currently evaluating that to see how it works for our police officers. We also, for next year, are looking at purchasing 2 hybrid SUVs that would also be run on a trial basis. And then, as John mentioned, we in 2017 became a Soul Smart community. We achieved the bronze level, and again, it's a Department of Energy program that recognizes municipalities for reducing barriers for residents to put solar panels on their homes. It simplifies the permitting process, also the inspection process, and it also reduces permit fees. And I think we have quite a few solar installations in our municipality. In 2017, we became gold certified under the Sustainable Pennsylvania program. This is a program from the Pennsylvania Municipal League and Sustainable Pittsburgh. It's a voluntary program. It's mostly web-based. You respond to a survey, an online survey, and based upon the number of web links that you have for different sustainability education on your website, you then achieve a certain status. And we were able to achieve gold status, and we are looking into ways that we can bump that up to platinum is the highest. So we are looking into that. Back in 2016, we updated our comprehensive plan. As some of you may know, a comprehensive plan is basically the document that guides the growth of the township. Our previous plan was from 1979, so it was sorely outdated. It took us several years to complete the update. As part of that, we have a community facilities element, and in that we have a goal, a sustainability goal, which it's a small goal. It could definitely be elaborated upon. It really focuses on reducing trash to reduce our solid waste stream, to increase composting, increase recycling, and it also talks about implementing stormwater best practices. That's something that our EAC something that the EAC would like to do is create a sustainability plan for the township and possibly amend the comprehensive plan to include that. Under the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, you are able as a municipality to have an energy element. For whatever reason, at the time that we embarked upon our update, the township decided not to include that element. But the EAC is definitely looking into that and approaching our commissioners to consider that. So moving on to our libraries, back in 2013, our Ballackinwood Library was renovated and we installed a geothermal system. It was the first system in the township. We anticipate that it will pay for itself in 7 years due to the lower operating costs. So it's been obviously in place for a few years, and we're already seeing, as you can see on the slide, over $40,000 energy savings. Moving back into 2012, we renovated our Ludington Library, which is in Bryn Mawr, and we installed a green roof on that library. There's many benefits: stormwater retention, reduces the urban heat island effect, reduces air pollution. And just so as each of these libraries came forward, the commissioners were reviewing the plans, different elements were proposed to them. I think also at this library we looked at solar, but the preference in this particular case was the green roof. So that's what we settled upon. And then as we review land development applications that come before us, we make recommendations to the developers to incorporate sustainable practices into their plan. We encourage them to preserve mature trees, plant native species, install rain gardens. So the images here, the image on your right, that is of the Ballackinwood Shopping Center, and that's a rain garden. It may be difficult to see, but in front of that white van, there's a cut in that curve that allows runoff to go into the basin, into the rain garden. As water flows across the parking lot, it picks up pollutants, oil from cars, maybe salt from the winter, and that rain garden helps to filter out those pollutions before the water seeps into the ground. And then this other photograph is of a medical office building that was constructed from Mainline Health. It's on Bryn Mawr Avenue in Bryn Mawr, and that's a rain garden that was incorporated into that. We also have a historic preservation ordinance that provides incentives for developers to keep historic buildings. I have to tell you all that one of the most green buildings that is out there is the building that's already existing. So we provide incentives for impervious surface, setback reductions, for those buildings to be preserved and rehabilitated. And just very brief, there's more, I didn't want to take up too much time, but we also allow stream banks to grow. We have no-mow zones that allows, again, stormwater to filter through those areas. It slows the water down. It also helps to filter out pollutants before the water enters the stream. Our EAC has been instrumental in providing newsletter articles for our township newsletter. We also, the photo on your right there is of our recent sustainable energy workshop, which was very well attended. John was present to help us moderate. David Richmond was instrumental in organizing that. We also just recently released a request for proposals for energy savings company projects to look at various building upgrades and energy efficiency, and we're waiting for proposals back from that. And one thing that we hope to do in the near future is to upgrade our streetlights to LEDs. We've gone back and forth on that, and we haven't made the step, but we're hoping that with the responses back from this proposal, that will be the jump that we need to make that step. And then just very briefly, we offer compost bins for sale to our residents to encourage people to reduce their waste stream. We also sell rain barrels for stormwater purposes. Our EAC has been instrumental again in helping us to put storm drain markers on our inlets to educate people that these drains don't just go into a pipe to a sewer plant, but they actually drain into your local creeks and streams so that people don't pour paint or hazardous materials in them. We also hosted our first stream cleanup earlier this year where we partnered with the Darby Creek Valley Association. It was really well attended. It's a great opportunity for kids to teach them young about environmental issues. So I have, that's my contact information. Again, happy to help answer any questions. If anyone has any questions. Well, I don't know that we're taking questions right now, but
We'll wait till the end, I think.
David, did you want to talk about our
We got some product.
EAC efforts very briefly? Yes.
I think Henry has given you the picture of what Lower Merion has done. I will just say that we start with some terrific assets. We have a township management, a professional management who gets this stuff. We have a very smart, motivated, sophisticated Board of Commissioners who are increasingly receptive to the message. Yes, we have an Environmental Advisory Council that has committed itself within the last 2 years or so to a sustainable energy agenda, and we have what I would refer to as impassioned citizen advocates. John used the term squeaky wheels, which probably makes the point well. So those are terrific assets. How do you capitalize on those assets? John said, and I could agree with him more, that the challenge is to organize, which I have. If the EAC in Lower Merion has been efficacious at all, it has been, and hopefully will continue to be, as a catalyst for bringing together those different ingredients in the township government and outside township government. And when I talk about township government, we have to remember we have two governing bodies in all of our municipalities. We have a township, in our case, Board of Commissioners. We have a school district. Both of them are huge factors in energy consumption, energy conservation, and in education. If you're municipalities like ours, the history of cooperation has probably been negligible. And one of the things that we hope to achieve, again, as a catalyst, if for no other reason, is to coordinate those two governmental entities and to do more regional kinds of things. And the more we collaborate between the municipalities, the more powerful we will be. Let me just underscore one point that Andrea made. Lower Merion wants to take and deserves some credit for making a commitment to renewable energy, renewable electricity going forward. Andrea did say, and I hope you caught it, that the context for the vote to go to 100% wind to power our electrical, our buildings, our facilities, was a $210,000 savings. This had nothing to do with renewable energy. This had everything to do with the market. The renewable, you could be very virtuous if it was only going to cost you $10,000 after you were saving $225 or something. The market is going to, this is a good time to be virtuous about the environment. One of the challenges we have, we're all going to have, is converting our transportation fleets to renewable sources of energy, or at least that are emitting lower rates of greenhouse gases. And I think there again, the market will enable us to do what virtue dictates we otherwise do.
That's a good segue.
So I just segued.
Okay, I'll try to talk really, really fast. I'm Peter Puglianese with the Haverford Township Environmental Advisory Committee, among other things. So Haverford is a little bit different. I'm very envious of Lower Merion and Montgomery County and the resources they put into planning. Our motto is, if we can't plan, do. So we do much less planning, we do at least as much doing. One of the themes that you talked about is you save money, okay? And that is the untold story of greenhouse gas reduction, climate change, is we're not doing it, even though if we did it, it would save us money. What? That's absolutely true, okay? All these projects that were just discussed, they required a little bit of capital investment, and they are paying back over years and years and years. So that's really the untold story. Take no responsibility for this, but the turnover in the committee, I think no one is left from 2008 who did this. They developed a climate action plan in 2008. Kudos for them. It had a whole process. They established a goal of a 30% reduction. There was a green team. Everybody was gung-ho, as sometimes happens with townships. They hit the pause button for a very, very long time. Okay, nobody was really tracking progress. Now, we did have a very active township manager who remembered all the things he was supposed to do, and they did implement a lot of these steps. Okay, they did implement geothermal heating at a new recreation environmental center. They did, the new building is LEED Gold, at a LEED Gold level. We are probably 2/3 into an LED lighting conversion. So things have happened. As you all know, 2017, we started backpedaling in terms of national action, right? And that ramped up the interest locally. So we got more interested again. The community got more interested again. So we started looking at it as an environmental advisory committee. The commissioners adopted a resolution saying, hey, you guys in Harrisburg, you guys in Washington, get with it, do something, okay? As far as EAC goes, and with the clearance of the board, they said, yeah, we want you to, hey, where are we versus these 30% goals? So different mentality, different level of resources. We kind of bootstrapped it. We have good volunteers in the community. And we did status of where were we in terms of greenhouse gas. So we looked at municipal, school district, township-wide, and too much detail here, but the interesting thing was the township as a whole really hadn't made much progress. A little bit of a reduction in CO2, mostly due to grid electricity mix improvements, okay? We identified some things that we thought should be done with the power contract. We were locked into 2020, as most municipalities are, but we were able to go back to Constellation and say, is there anything we can do to get carbon-free energy at least? Well, they happen to have a big nuclear fleet, and they said, yes, we can give you 100% carbon-free nuclear. So that's our solution until 2020, at which time we'll do what Lower Merion just did, which is we'll try to procure. Now, it's an open market on energy. You paid a little bit more. As an individual, you could pay more, you could pay less for renewable energy. One of the other sessions will tell you about that. We identified, okay, there's one thing very, very important. LEED buildings. You know, that and a couple of bucks, or maybe $5 will get you coffee at Starbucks. A lot of these LEED buildings are not being properly operated. What we found by looking at data that is now available for any power user, customer, commercial, municipal, you can see real-time traces of energy consumption. And what we saw is buildings not being properly operated that were using more energy than the high energy hog buildings they replaced, until it was flagged that, hey, it's not, the programs are not set right. Who's minding the store? We're heating and cooling at the same time and they're battling each other. I kid you not, this happens, and this happens a lot when nobody's minding the store. So that one of the, which leads me to one of the needs that I think we have globally, maybe on a at least a county level, is who's minding the store on all this sophisticated building management stuff. Okay? Energy efficiency, energy audits. I think there's a real need for municipalities to have that support, especially as we now have, like this building probably is all managed by a computer program. Okay, so we have done LED streetlight conversion. We're about 2/3 of the way in. All of these things, by the way, you know, John, you talked about, I wish the one benefit of having a plan and agreement up front is we're doing these things and our township is banking the profits, keep lowering taxes, putting it into other things. They're not thinking about, well, what else can we invest in it? That's a little bit unfortunate. But 90+% of the things you're gonna do are making you money. And after 7 years, it's continuing to pay back, okay? And so I've heard this discussion with the school district saying, oh, well, we shouldn't think about solar, the payback's too long. And it's like, well, what are you, General Motors? You're borrowing money at 2% interest. You have a building that is gonna be in place for 50 years teaching students. You don't need a 2-year payback. That's my feeling. But everything that's been done is saving money. Okay. So we've looked into vehicles. The school district has gone to propane, not electric, not hybrid, not regenerative. But propane is a decent. It's kind of a no-brainer intermediate step. You can. It's actually a little more on the front end. And you have payback, okay? So the break even is after a few years, lower fuel costs, and about 15 to 20% lower greenhouse gas emissions. So, and we looked at things like police vehicles. So we looked at the Fusion. Our police chief turned his nose up at it. Apparently they're all big guys, and they can't fit into a little Fusion. So we're looking at the new SUV hybrid that Ford is coming out with next year, and we're probably going to purchase those. Long overdue. Why does it take till the model 2020 year to get a hybrid police vehicle? I don't know. And I know a lot of townships that are looking at 100% are looking at electric. There is no off-the-shelf police certified electric vehicle today, unfortunately. After the changes that we made, we found, I think, 55% reduction versus our base 2005, including the things like 100% nuclear energy. So, good news, right? Pat ourselves on the back. The school district did a bunch of things. I'm going to keep going really, really fast through here. Advice to school districts, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So, good news, bad news. The government operations made significant improvements. The township as a whole, as far as we're able to tell, and the data is not easy to break down on a township level, has not met its goal of a 50% reduction in greenhouse gas versus 2015. In fact, our energy consumption has gone up, and our greenhouse gas emissions have gone down slightly, only due to cleaner electricity on the grid. Okay, so not a whole lot of progress. So applause, yay, we did some great work. Hold your applause as a community. And the goal that we had for our climate plan was not just government operations. It was, hey, the whole community should lower its greenhouse gas emissions, right? So the takeaway from all of this work is getting government to move, ironically, is actually easier than getting to the public to move, okay? Because you have managers who are capable of thinking about payback, long term. I invest a little bit now, I'm going to get it back over 30 years, okay? The public has not really caught on to this, okay? We have, it's going to cost me $2,000 more for a hybrid. We're not telling the other part of the story, that the hybrid is the lowest cost of ownership vehicle on the road, okay? So that message is not getting across, and that's part of EAC's mission, is trying to get that message across to everybody. And I've got to say, from my own personal experience, guilty as much as anybody else. I think I bought my first electric motorcycle 2 years ago, my first hybrid plug-in car a year ago. I learned about climate change in 1975 when I was in college, okay? So that's the hard part, is I know somebody should do something about it. Everybody, the majority of people think somebody should do something about climate change, but the majority of people, they're not. Okay, so that's really the big challenge. So where do we go from here? We've got 2 new climate resolutions: 100% renewable by 2035, 2050, 100% renewable all energies. 2035 power, all energy, 2050. Okay, the power is an easy lift. Okay, you can contract it. There are some obstacles with state law, I think, on getting to 100% community-wide, which will be talked about in other sessions. But that's the easier lift. The harder lift is 100% renewable everything. Okay. We also, I will echo sustainable PA communities. Go for your certification, because there is some benefits in terms of getting grants. Easy lift, hard lift. I will say, state federal action. How do we get it done? I think the message that you have to carry through to both managers and your elected officials is, these things make money for you. Okay, they may be hard to swallow that I'm going to drive an electric police car. Believe me, I know that's hard to swallow, but particularly when they come out with an Explorer-based vehicle, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's gonna have a payback, okay? Zero electric motorcycle, you saw the Zero out front, they make a police version, diffusion-based. In the future, hopefully, we have, that's a propane-based heavy-duty truck. Okay, so these are all things that you could be doing right now. That's our wish list. I'm gonna cut it off right there because I told everybody else to hurry. So, our next speaker is gonna briefly talk about electric charging stations. Dennis Rowan, around energy integration. Introduce yourself, and I'm going to try to pull it through.
Sure. So I've been driving electric for about 5 years. If you haven't seen the electric cars down in the parking lot, who has seen all the electric vehicles? Fantastic. I'm going to get right into it. The data points we talked about here that John was talking about, the metrics. One really important metric, in 1926 in this country, the average miles per gallon was 16 miles per gallon for an internal combustion engine. Today it's 24. That is disgraceful. If we had that, there would be no internet. We would still be in dial-up modems. There would be no jets. We wouldn't have not only not gone to the moon, we wouldn't have left our atmosphere. There's been zero competition for energy in the transportation sector. The good news is the solutions are here. The bad news, and the good news is everybody's looking for them. Go down to the parking lot. Dave gets, 140 miles per gallon equivalent. I got 160. Peter, in your motorcycle?
More
200.
Yeah.
So it's been echoed here again. Again, the economic argument is there, but there's a huge monopoly not wanting you to make that economic argument. But we have competition, and the solutions in climate change are rarely positioned that way. But the good news is there's energy, economic, and emissions benefits when you look at these systems. So our logo, there's an R and an E, and they go both ways. There's an integrator. We're integrators. We don't have the solution. We bring them all together. So solar and EVs are amazing together. Michael Craner, who's out there, he runs his Teslas on solar. So does Rick Denzine, who's talking next door. What do you run on, Dave? You run on air. Peter, what are you running on? Wind? Well, where's my advance here? So.
Hit the arrow button down.
This one. Okay. Great. So that's my background. I'm working on the Pennsylvania Electric Vehicle Coalition. Pertinent to what Peter said, as a member of that, we're aware of a lot of grants that are now available. Just going to show you what we've been on, though, for those 100 years. Here's where we're not only very inefficient, only getting 24 miles per gallon, our system, our supply chain, is only 18% efficient. What that means is for every gallon you put in, only 18% of that actually moves the car. 82% waste. And that is horrific. Solar to EV, wind to EV, hydro to EV, you're up about 80%. So if we have any athletes in here, imagine, the Eagles, if you have a quarterback who's only completing 18% of their passes, or a baseball player, not quite as bad, but they're only hitting 180. And so with sustainability, the lower the number, the better. So if you were a golfer, imagine going from shooting 105 to 68. So this is why the electric vehicle charging stations and EVs are so important for municipalities. It's not EV for EV's sake, as everybody's saying, there's an economic argument. This is the Eagle Stadium. This is a model for the future charging station. It's destination charging. You have solar, you have DC fast chargers, slow chargers underneath. This is level 2 charger at the Navy Yard. So this is what we do. In terms of what John was saying, we are energy managers. We come in, we benchmark. We will give you all the data that could put you to sleep every night for the next 50 years. But it's real. It's real. So we can come in on a project and say, here's exactly what you're going to save. This is what we did for a municipality in Ontario. They had 25 vehicles. We went in, nope, it doesn't save you money. Nope, it doesn't save you money. It saves you money right now. Why would you wait till 2030? Oh, we have a 2030 plan. We want to wait. You know, I was talking to a kid's son the other day, he goes, yeah, I got a 2040 plan for going to college. It makes no sense, you know. It's like, if you could save money now, fine. These 11 vehicles out of the 25 of this township in Ontario, boom, financial savings, energy savings, greenhouse gas savings, triple efficiency. So this is leading into the grants that Peter, UPS just adopted 1,000 workhorse EVs. It's going to save them $170 million. Okay, so in the course of doing our EV and EVSE planning, making the economic argument, this is Trenton train station. I'll get right into it. So currently, Volkswagen, everybody knows that we're fraudulently claiming their emissions standard. They got fined a few $1 billion. Pennsylvania has $129 million to spend. Some of it is specifically for townships. That money is available now. It's a rebate. If you have an EVSE, EVSE is a charging station that is open to the public and it's networked, you get up to a $5,000 rebate. That should cover everything, 100%. If it's not networked, you get 90% rebate. If it's not networked or not open to the public, you get a 60% rebate. So the question then is, well, what do we do with this money? As systems integrators, we or somebody else who was doing the same type of thing with the planning commissions would show you the best way to spend this money. I'm going to make these available through Peter, so everybody has this link. Here, if you want to look into the networks, these are lists of every network. So these are the new fueling stations. It's not Exxon and Mobil and Chevron. There's a lot of new networks. And they do more than just get you the energy. They help the grid. John was talking about PJM. We have a current managed charging project where we got funding from the Department of Environmental Protection. If anybody wants to participate in that research, you get free charging, you get a free network, and you can contact me or through Peter to get my information. I think that's about all I have.
Okay, we are right at 3. I would not get my role as moderator if I didn't give an option for people to ask just a couple of questions. Once again, you have all of our contact information. If you don't get a chance to ask a question right now and you want to ask it later, email us, find us, everybody who spoke today will be available. But for right now, does anybody have? Okay.
I want to ask Andrew, I didn't quite understand, you said that the nominal cost of 100% renewable energy was $10,000 more, but there was $210,000 in savings, and wasn't quite clear where the savings came from.
So over, compared to what we're currently paying,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we looked at maybe 3 to 5 different contracts from different electrical providers. So the one that we picked, 100% renewable, it was $10,000 more per year than those other options.
Yeah.
But overall, we're still getting over $200,000 savings from what we're paying right now.
I see, so by changing providers, you save money.
Yeah.
I see.
And largely to what David's point to the market, the market's just different now than it was when our last contract was renewed.
And anybody can shop around. You can go to the PUC, papowerswitch.org, and that gives you plug in your information and you can get all of your power options. Along with renewables, you can be a smart shopper. The Philadelphia Energy Plan, the City of Philadelphia recently did an energy plan for the city. They have a great section in there about how to shop through PA Power Switch. So Google that and then go to PA Power Switch and
There's actually a session at 4 in the other room on, I think that's gonna include shopping. There's a little breakout room upstairs where people will help you. There's some online guidance. Shopping, the open market has some pitfalls, but there's also information on a secret PUC program to buy power, 1-year power contract, 7% below pico price, and guess what, you can get Green Mountain 100% renewable.
I'm here for all the latest, for all your deals. Any more
You
other questions?
mentioned ordinances. Are they copyrighted or can we use an ordinance for a
I have
template for?
never written an ordinance without stealing from somebody else. I am a professional ordinance stealer. So they are not, they're not copyrighted, they're all public.
You had a map of Montgomery County with the number of ordinances, and Pottstown was red, having the highest, a very high number of ordinances.
A high number of solar installations.
Right. Oh, it wasn't ordinance.
They have an ordinance, but the coloration was number of solar installations that had been
At the
installed,
government level or including residential?
including residential.
And can we see that on the Montgomery County website, planning commission,
Can you see,
that map?
Yeah,
And get more details. I guess through the planning commission website, we should be able to dig into the details and figure out, well, how is it that Pottstown
was able to,
gets some,
we can help you.
I think there was another red dot, was that Ambler Borough? Is it the boroughs that have an easier time?
I have a feeling it is, and I have a feeling it was probably based on, you do seem to find more concentrations in higher densities. Sometimes it's because it's easier for developers to reach multiple targets. Like, when I say target, like, be able to reach out to many homeowners quickly and easier to try to get the projects moving forward. So, but a lot of times it doesn't have to do with ordinances, it has to do with how many doors can I knock on and how many conversations can I have in a day. It's like a more of a private market factor. Couple, before we, because you guys have another session that you guys
Yes.
can wander off to, so I don't wanna hog you here.
Yeah, the 4 o'clock is probably starting if you, there are multiple sessions going on at the same time, so.
I might ask interested in doing an energy audit, but they said, where do we get an energy auditor? Does PICO provide that service? Are they all private? Do you get
What
grant?
township?
Radnor Township. I went to the EAC meeting and I brought the results of what was going on in
I'd
our
like to
building.
propose a county function that does that. It could be contracted, it could be multi-township contracts. But there is no there's not even a resource like John that I'm aware of on sustainability climate in Delaware County.
Nobody as good as me.
Yes.
Though I will say Delaware County Planning Commission I go to meetings with Justin Newell all the time and he is involved in these, he's a Delaware County planner. But you will have to shop around, there are excellent companies out there who are working with municipalities to do energy,
I
to
think
do energy
Ulster
planning.
Municipality, I would personally love to see a county level energy auditor slash, resource manager, because there is money being wasted. When you look at what we wasted in Haverford with LEED certified buildings, that there's money to be made, more than enough to pay for that, I think.
Yeah.
So just one source of money I forgot, that one slide I showed you that showed the municipal fleet, that was the result of an energy audit for the fleet. So that was about a 200-page document I showed you, and it showed, $162,000 saving. Under the Volkswagen grant money, we can do what Peter suggested, get a township person or a community, and they would pay for those energy audits for the fleet, because that's the benchmark, right? That's how you start. How much did we save? You start with the benchmark. So that benchmarking also tells you where to put the charge stations. And as Peter said, how do we prove that we can save money on this vehicle? So that's very important. Any of the townships who want to do a free benchmarking of their fleet and learn how to save money, contact.
So research the grants, get up on it. There's grant money out there, although, well, certainly for the vehicle, the fleet audits, there's grant money out there. Anyway.
Desire.org is a great resource to find out what grants are available, what programs are.
So we probably should turn it over to the next session, and Kelly Flanagan from Environment needs no introduction, if she's going to introduce herself.